Excuse me, I just walked up here. I feel like I walked through the jungle. I was kind of going through the growth and, you know, something over there. Well, I feel like I should bring a machete or something to get up here. It's good to see you all here, family, people I've known for so long. You know, morning and nights, we have time together. The whole family has been busy preparing, doing the PowerPoint. Carol made the PowerPoint. She worked all night on that. I think she slept just a little bit. She's been nervous about this, you know, and Lorene, she's the worst of all, I think. You know, she's been blaming everyone, what are we going to do? And, you know, worried about the food and everything. And Sandy has been helping. We've been discussing, you know, how to do the program, the order of the program, changing this and that. Oh my God! And you know, Sherry and Mike discuss how we're going to do this. It's been so confusing. But now everything is calm, and the program has started, and it's been smooth. So, except I had to go through the jungle, but whatever. Now I'm here. I've been asked to read a letter sent by a good friend of Larry's, Merv Garrettson. That's his name sign. I've been friends with Larry, and we used to call Larry. The purpose of Merv. So this letter is for Larry. This letter was written, the purpose of which was for the decision to build this, or the dedication of the room for Larry. But the ceremony, it wasn't possible, you know. Mal decided that, you know, we need to, Merv asked me to sign this letter myself. Okay. But then Larry was sick and his health declined, so the ceremony was postponed. But I wanted to make sure that Larry read that letter before he was gone. Larry looked up to Merv as an idol. There are a few years of difference between them. Merv thought the world of Larry, and both had very high respect for each other. So it's a beautiful thing that I must share with you. 2 days before Larry died, I ran over to his house with this paper, and I forced it to wake up and read this. He needed to see every word. And he struggled. He was kind of dizzy. I could see that his eyes were kind of losing focus, but then I saw that they were following every word, and he was able to read it. So then afterwards I put down the paper and he said yes. And I knew that he really appreciated that. So I'm going to sign that now, okay? Nearly 70 years ago, an innocent, wide-eyed youngster from Fanwood entered Gallaudet College as a prep student. That's when I first met you, Larry. I was impressed with your enthusiasm, your eagerness to participate in most every activity on the campus, including football. You had this never say die spirit, trying to excel in everything you did. This burning excitement, this joie de vivre, has served you all your life, has been your hallmark enabled you to make meaningful contributions to life and to deaf people everywhere. From teaching in Rome, New York, and Riverside, being named Teacher of the Year, ever moving up to principal, assistant superintendent, writer, editor, poet, you have made an impact on deaf children, youth, and adults, to the hearing world and the profession as well. Your shared gifts of talks and writings and your involvement in state and national organizations have left an enduring memory, a lasting spirit. Your unswerving loyalty to the deaf community, to our sign language, to our children, and all has become your memorial. Today's honor is long overdue and carries with it all of our admiration and our love. Carol and Garrett. So, what's next?
The lights kept flashing. It's for the video phone to signal the doorbell or the video phone ringing, but it came on and went off in unusual ways. And I know Larry had come into the house and he was so happy that everyone was gathering and all at the home, and he's still here with us. He's here with us. His spirit is here. And, oh my goodness, he's jumped into me. He's jumped into me. His favorite was the cowboy piece. And so we'll let you have a look. The cowboy.
Okay, you go.
Oh, it's called Cowboy.
The cowboy.
What's that?
The bridle on the horse.
What's that?
The bridle on the horse. The trees are going by. The houses are going by. Pulling the bridle on the horse. Kicking the salon saloon door.
What's that?
Kicking the salon saloon door. This one.
What was that?
Kicking the salon door.
Oh.
Now he's back on the horse.
I got that part.
Got that part?
What's that? Mustache?
Yeah.
Everyone stand up. Like this. Follow along. Bravo. Thank you, everyone. Oh my goodness, that's so wonderful. I'm from Texas and I've got the boots. So how about that? That is a very old story that I've seen since I was a young girl, and I do remember that story, and I'm so happy to see Larry carry on that legacy. That's an old piece of folklore you just saw. I'm here as an NAD, National Association Deaf President, and my name is Bobby Beth Scoggins. I'm here on behalf of really the past president, first of all, who could not be with us. Roz Rosen was a president with NAD before, and there's a whole long list of presidents. Larry was the third oldest. You know Sandy Bob Sanderson? He's living in Utah at this time. Was then followed by Merv Garrison, then followed by Larry Newman. And then Gertie Galloway came on board. Then the fifth on down. Larry, 6th, 7th, 8th, in there too. And I will be one of them soon because my term is ending. But I do look up to Larry, and how I know him is, the first time I met him was 2006 in the state of California. As soon as I became the president of NAD, and he was present to celebrate his Sands of Time text. There was a whole long line of 11 presidents, past presidents, who stood across the stage that was introduced. And he was so very proud of his book. And we at the NAD are so immensely proud of that text also, because we knew it took years of hard work. And the legacy of NAD was carried on through his writings and is documented. Many of you know him as a family man, but I know him as an advocate, an activist, and so it was very nice for me to come here and understand more about the personal relationships that you all have had with him. Larry approached me at that California conference, and he said, gosh, you're going to have hard work ahead of you. You got your work cut out for you. And I didn't know what I had got myself into, and I said, well, thank you for your words of encouragement, and that was upon first meeting him. And he said, I tell you, if you burn out, please take good care of yourself, take care of your health, so that, he was kind of in teacher mode, giving me advice on how to maintain the presidency. And at that conference, they said of him that he
really was the education president. Each president, of course, had their legacy that they left and brought. But during Larry's legacy as the NAD president, he brought so much of the issues to the table on the national level in terms, and made an agenda around educational issues. And many of the board members who followed carried on with that legacy. So his work has carried on to this day, and you must know that. Many presidents who have followed him still carry the agenda he set forth. A little bit of his legacy remains in what other presidents bring in mine, and so on. So I just want to thank Larry for his staunch support, leadership. And in terms of the captioning issues, he was completely ready to just get out in the streets and protest. Remember CBS captioning was, you know, we did a sit-in protest, and those 4 years from 1986 to 1990 was the time of his presidency. And so I had talked to other past presidents. Some of them sent me comments and said they wanted me to share a few of their words. So I would like to take that time to do that now. Alan Hurwitz, the past president of NAB, said, I have nothing but deep appreciation for Larry. He is a leader, a mentor, a friend, and in my eyes, he was a giant. A wonderful role model for young deaf people like me. And of course, when I was young, he says, he's older now. I thought, gosh, when did they meet? Contributions are commendable. He has a knack for writing stories
about deaf people, deaf culture, and deaf community. He, in a humorous way, and in a very positive way. He would always be remembered by all of us. And so Alan's comments are really basically do summarize what all past presidents felt about Larry. And there's another quick story I'll summarize. The next president, Ben Supa, said that during his presidency, he was very, very proud to encourage Larry to write Sands of Time and planted seeds for him to do so. And then Larry became very motivated and started to write that text. It was a wonderful labor of love in terms of what he wrote. This is a complete labor of love. And he will always be remembered by Ben. And Ben says he was reminded of Teddy Roosevelt, who said this country will not be a good place for all of us to live in unless we make it a good place for all of us to live in. And that's Teddy Roosevelt's quote that Larry believed in. Just as Teddy Roosevelt did, he had the staunch spirit always present. Yeah, it's been a real privilege to know him, Ben says. Another says, Miss Gertie Galloway, ex-president of the National Association of the Deaf. It's such an interesting story. I don't know if the family knows about it, but it's called Enough Said. Larry's Jammies. Do you know about the Jammies story? Yes? Oh, you do? Okay. Well, it's very interesting to see how Larry would work very hard, like Ross said. He worked so hard all day long, and then during the evenings, he played just as hard. He did know how to play with all the board members and carry on. And Gertie Galloway says, goodness, an awesome experience knowing him personally. But there's one thing, Gertie said, that must be shared. Larry is adorable. In the story on the pajamas, do you know the story about pajamas going through? Those pair of pajamas have been carried on into my presidency. That story has been, they say, what's the pajama story? And I say, please tell us the pajama story. It's been passed on. Even I heard it in mine, and I'll pass it on. And that pajama story will forever remain in the history of the NAD. is just documented history. It hasn't been written, but we do talk about it. And it is passed on as oral tradition. And it all started because Gertie's pajamas happened to be on, and the pajamas were taken by the hotel staff. And so Gertie was like, what do? I don't have my pajamas. And then maybe they were taken by mistake. So Roz decided to, help. And so, but she was in on it too. And so they said they ran to where the board meeting was taking place, and they stole Larry's beautiful blue, silk blue pajamas out of his room and took them. And that was Gertie's version. Roz's version may be different. Everyone has their own version. And then Gertie goes, no, those are not my pajamas. I don't accept those pajamas. And later they found out that Larry had slept overnight without pajamas and was restless and couldn't sleep overnight. But Gertie thought, well, because of that occurring, at every board meeting, the pajamas disappearing from someone's room, so they thought, well, they had to steal his pajamas. So Larry was holding on to his pajamas and didn't want anyone to take them. And Merv, was trying to find the pajamas, and they tried hard to just pass off the key to sneak the pajamas, and that went on for several years. And then Larry decided, apparently when Gertie had left the board, that he gave the pajamas to retire the pajamas. And so it was just a lot of fun that we had, and that they had. Merv said Larry might go down in history as one of NAB's greatest presidents, not only for 2 terms, but he had donated by many outstanding leaders and writers and prose, as a prose writer and poet. During his term, he made so many contributions, and he made many difficult decisions for the NAD. He fought, he was a fighter. Larry's leadership goes beyond the call of duty, and he was so able to laugh when he was in a difficult time. He could always laugh. And his love for NAD was very strong. So all of that in summary, I say, this is Larry's legacy towards NAD. So thank you, Larry, for your outstanding leadership for American deaf community. Thank you so much. And thank your family for loving him to us.
Hello, everyone. Nice to stand up here and see all of your faces. I am Herb Larson, a good friend of Larry's. My wife and I have known him for more than 45 years. And not only as a friend, but we worked together in many different ways. We both served on the same board, we went to the same conferences, etc., etc. I plan to talk a little bit about that, but now, after all of the previous speakers, I have nothing left to say. But right now, I think it's a good time for me to add a couple stories about Larry. Now, you know, Larry is quite famous for several things. He writes well. He's good at writing poetry, etc., etc. And he's got a great sense of humor. And that's what I want to talk about. Larry was a California teacher for many years. As all of you, he was the California Teacher of the Year. Many of you know that. And when he was here and we'd come to visit, whose classroom is the first classroom that people would go visit? Guess. Larry's, okay? Now, Larry told me this story. Maybe I've changed a little bit of it, or maybe I've added to it, but basically the story is his. And I want to tell you this because Larry was one of the people that could laugh at his own mistakes, his blunders, his stupidity, all of the things that he did wrong. He would admit it and tell stories. He'd tell it all, so people could see what he did wrong. That's one of the things that was great about him. And when he told it, it was funnier than anyone else could ever tell. I mean, I can't even tell it the way that he would tell it, okay? So one day, visitors came to the campus. This is with the superintendent of the school. I guess it was Brill or somebody. And Larry was teacher of the year, and he was on, acting out in class. Okay, so there were people standing there watching, and all the kids could see the visitors, but Larry was unaware. And I'm sure some of the kids are like, oh, settle down, there's visitors. And Larry was acting and performing. And he was doing a dance. And then he turned around and he froze. He saw the group of visitors watching. He was embarrassed. But that's a good teacher, isn't it? That's a good teacher. A good teacher would do that. And he would become teacher of the year. A good teacher would stand on their head. If it worked, it would make the class pay attention. It worked. Okay, so he would tell me that. Here's another story. One day, all of us had gone on a tour to Italy. Remember this? Okay, so we were with another group, and we had all gone together. And Larry and I, well, we like to have our martinis before dinner. Always. It was great. And I say that I like to have my martinis. Well, each one of us like to have a martini before dinner. But when you're over there in Europe, communication, sometimes you can't explain what you want. It's hard to get through to people sometimes. And so we struggled, and we really never got the martini that we wanted. We failed every time. We tried to explain to the bartender how to make it. We'd say, no, we want that. We'd point to the bottle, and then they, start mixing it. It was never exactly right. So one day, once again, it was before dinner, we thought, okay, well, we're going to try this really fancy hotel bar. We were standing there at the bar, and we asked for the martinis. And we explained, and we struggled, and they couldn't understand us. And we couldn't understand them either. And the bartender gave up and said, come here, get over here and make it yourself. So we went around behind the bar and made our own martini. We made it right there at the bar. That was great. That was a wonderful experience. And that was the best one so far. Well, even outside, as a teacher, he was teaching, when he wasn't in his role on campus. So that was a wonderful experience that we had. And there are many, many more stories to tell. I do want to tell you one thing that I will never ask of Larry. Just one thing. Okay, maybe two. The one thing that I would never ask him is to come help me fix something in my house. And I would never ask him to come help me see what's wrong with my car. I really wondered if he ever even knew how to screw in a light bulb. I'd never seen it. His daughter said she'd never seen it. But he would be the first one to tell you, you know what, I can't do these things. It didn't bother him at all. He wasn't embarrassed. Okay, no time is short. But I want to end by saying that Larry loved his family, and you have all heard before me. He always talked about his children. And I got to know the kids through him, through his stories. We know that, well, the deaf community, we know that we took him away from the family a lot of times. We know that. And we took him away because he could resolve our problems. He was our star. He was our leader. He was the one we needed. And so we took him away a lot more than probably was necessary. And so we are really grateful to the family for their generosity, your graciousness for loaning him to us. So thank you for that. Because we were able to make a lot of changes and improvements in our lives because you were willing to give him to us. I think that all of us are very fortunate because we had a great opportunity to live while Larry was here. We are lucky. And we will miss him, of course. And thank you again for allowing him to be with us.
Hello, hello. Oh boy, that's bright. Oh, this is better. Hello. I've known Larry starting 1904. I've worked for him until his death. I love him. The best time that he always had was with beer. And also, he had to have his watch on. Like, you know, sometimes we'd have a little fun with him. I'll show you. Thank you. Wait a while. Right now, the two of us will do a short skit in which Larry himself loved the family, Laureen. We all agreed we have to do that one because, you know, it was brief a little bit before, you know, his last illness. After he ate that night, we chatted, then we tried to cheer him up. And so we came up with this silly, short skit entitled, A Deaf Man and a Blind Man. Okay? And we're going to do it. I could see Larry, he really cheered up and he laughed so hard. You really enjoyed that. So we decided to do it here to remember that time. Right? So, I'm the deaf man. I'm standing on the road waiting for the bus. And I'm standing there. Come on out. Also, you know that Larry and I were friends. Exact how many years? 76 years. 76, right? Yeah, 76 years we've been friends. The first time I met him, I saw him, we were 7. My school, we went to Fanwood. And young children slept on the 4th floor. It was a big room, and we had many beds in it. And at that time, you know, they cleaned it up and painted everything. And so they took the kids who were on the 4th floor to the 3rd floor. And so each room had 4 beds. And so they squeezed us into the rooms between the beds. So I was placed, of all the rooms, I was placed in Larry's bedroom. And there were the 4 bunks, and the last one was near a window. And they put me right between the 2, right next to Larry. I don't know why. You know, fate brought me there to Larry's bunk. And he was 11, I was 7. So at night, I would watch. I would watch him. His hands, he would hold close to his chest, and his lips would move. And I watched him. I could see his profile in the dark. At the window, the light was shining through it so I could see his profile. And I remember to this day, the first time I saw him in person, a deaf man was praying every night. I believe he was. I would believe he was playing all his life. many good things that happened. He prayed. For family, he prayed. For friends, he prayed. For the deaf community, he prayed. Till the very last time on earth. Okay, I think I was the luckiest man in the world. You know that. Could be the least person in the world to have one true friend. And I had that with Larry. I mean, he had many good friends. I had many good friends, but he influenced me, my life, profoundly. As I grew up, through the years, through college with him, after years of marriage and family just continued. We fought, we disagreed, he scolded me, he criticized me, but really, more than that, he supported me and encouraged me. And that made me what I am today. I thank him. Best of all, we had a good time just being silly and laughing. After the littlest thing, for example, you know, I fell down one time. It was an awful thing to happen to anyone. I fell down. And he laughed and laughed. Betty, too. Every time I'd fall, Betty would just, and both of them, they would just go hysterical till they cried. How do you explain that? You know, a stupid thing to do, but still, he got a big kick out of it. When I'd fall, he would laugh. He really enjoyed it. He'd laugh at himself, too. I laugh with him. One funny story. I want to tell one story about him. The choking story. One night, we were at a banquet. I don't remember exactly where. Oh, yes, that's right, the Sportsman's Lodge in Studio City. It was a big banquet. And the tables were set up, and we were sitting at a table, and Larry and Betty were at another table. So, you know, we were having a good time, we were drinking and eating, and then Betty said, what? Betty said, there's something wrong. She said, Larry's been in the restroom for an awfully long time, 45 minutes, right? And I thought, wow, that is a long time. What's wrong? I had no idea. So she said, please go and check on him. I said, okay. So I thought I'd better. I went into the bathroom, and I looked at each stall, and I saw his shoes, Larry's shoes. And so I thought, well, let's see, it's closed, and so I kind of waved to get his attention. It's Bernard Bragg, it's me. Oh, do you need some help? He says, yes, come. So, went into the door, and we closed the door, and I said, what's wrong? He was choking. He was choking on something he ate. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? He said, I'm choking. Well, I knew what I should do. But I stopped and I looked at his shoes and my shoes. And I thought, what are people going to think when they come in and they see our shoes like that? So I thought, well, we better escape after I save his life. Of course, you know, I saved his life the best I could. I wrapped my arms around him. I squeezed, and we were leaping up and down, and I was squeezing, till finally the food came flying out of his mouth, and he was able to catch his breath, and he started breathing again. And so we walked outside, and everything was okay. Our reputation was not ruined. Okay. I'd like to leave with one word. I remember that day when he was lying in bed. I saw him lying there. I remember when I was 7 until this time. Now I'm 83. He's 86. And he was lying there, struggling. He said to me, I gave my children love, and they gave it back, their love, 100 times. The next thing he said was, hard for me to leave them. It's hard, true enough, but I believe in the deepest heart that leaving with a good feeling, because he contributed a lot through his books, his 2 books, through his work, all of these things that he did. He got a lot of love from his family, from his friends, from everybody. He leaves with a good feeling. Not leave disappointed. Yeah, you know, he knows he misses his family's love, but on his part, so goodbye, dear friend. Sleep well. You deserve it.